floors for living, the flooring experts.
Welcome to this video. My name is Kurt. I'm the president of Floors for Living. I get call after call on how to properly install tile. There's so many jobs out there that are failing in my area. I happen to be in Houston, Texas, but I know people from all around the country watch this video. So I want to tell you what it takes to do a proper installation when it comes to tile. So we give a lifetime installation warranty compared to almost everybody else's 1 year. And the reason why we can do that is because we use the right material. So let's get started on it right now. First of all, the adhesive or the thin set that we use happens to be latex modified, and that's very, very important because it allows for movement in the floor. I'm in Houston, Texas. We're in Houston, Texas, and what happens with concrete, it can actually expand and contract with the different changes in the moisture. So it can actually, on a 100-foot slab, it can actually expand 1 inch per 100 foot. So if you don't have a adhesive that allows for some movement on there, it's going to pop off the floor. Many of you might have seen cracked tiles. You might have seen cracked grout. You might have even seen where the tile actually tense up. That's because what happens is it didn't allow for any movement at all in the floor, and that's why we use the latex modified thin set. We also use Ultraflex 2 from Mapei. The reason why we use that is because of the shear strength. Now, shear strength is what it takes to go ahead and take it off the floor, push it off the floor. It's actually rated as far as pounds, and so just to give you an idea, Home Depot, their standard adhesive, which goes out truckload after truckload, is called Custom Blend. Now that has a shear strength of 187. That's an average shear strength, and now the average shear or bond strength of what we use is 377. So we're over 100% more holding power than what you would get from a normal standard thin set or adhesive that's used to put down the tile. The second thing that we do that's a little bit different is we also use a half-inch trowel compared to a quarter-inch trowel. Now what a lot of people do is they're going to go ahead and use a quarter-inch trowel, but the floor has to be perfectly perfect, and how they make it perfectly perfect is they charge you extra for what they call float or floor prep, and they charge, I heard this morning from a customer, they're going to charge us $60 for the labor itself, and then they had to buy the bags on top of it, which is really, really expensive, especially when it only costs $10 a bag. It takes less than 5 minutes to put it down. So I like to work for $60 for 5 minutes of work, but I can't seem to get that work. And again, what we do is we don't charge extras. Our total price includes all the float that is needed or all the floor prep that is needed to make your job a great job. So, and again, the difference is pretty significant. I'm going to show you these two trowels up close, and you can see the difference. It's like night and day as far as the size of the adhesive that's put down there. So what happens with that is, again, is when we use a half-inch, it's got twice as much of that really great thin set on there, the latex modified thin set on there, and it gives a much better bonding, also a much better leveling. Now there's no doubt that from a installation standpoint that the thin set with that shear strength on there, that real high one that we use, is a much better holder than say like the float. Obviously a float is made to smooth, the other one's made to hold it to the concrete. So if you have a lot of float on there, it's not sealed, it's not put on right, the float will come off your floor, and because you didn't use as much adhesive, and then your job will fail too. So here's what it looks like when we install it on a floor, if you can see this up close. So as you can see from the lines right here, it's significant amount of adhesive that's used on this side right over here compared to the other side, and that's why, technically speaking, if you look, you can always get a job done cheaper. So the thin set I use, which is comparable to one at Home Depot, costs 3 times more than the regular thin set, but if you get as good as a thin set at Home Depot, you're going to pay around $21 a bag, so you have 3 times more cost there. And also when we use twice as much of it to make sure your job isn't going to fail, to make sure we can give you a lifetime installation warranty, our costs are going to be a little bit higher, but at the end of the day, of all the people I get calls from every single day that their job has failed or it's not being done right, and then they kick the contractor out of the job, you know, it's probably worth it to do it right the first time. You know, tile put down correctly can last an awful long time. So that's what you got to look for. So let's go on to the next segment. Next thing I want to talk about that makes us quite different from everyone else is the way we go ahead and install the tile using the lash clips and wedges. Most people use the spacers, and they use anywhere from 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch spacers. They try to get smaller spacers, but they can't really pull it off. And the reason why is because the heavy porcelain tiles of today, what happens is they settle higher or low. So you've got the tripping hazards also where the dirt catches. I've seen it time after time. So what we use is available everywhere. It's available at Home Depot, it's available on Lowe's, online, anywhere you want to go to, but it's called lash clips and wedges. We obviously buy them direct. We buy them by the thousands. We use so much of them. And here in Houston, Texas, we use 99.5% of all the lash clips and wedges used in this area. Only because we make the decision to do it on every single job. You don't have to pay extra for it. It's the right way to do it, so that's what we do. So let's talk about them. First of all, what happens is that most people have about 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch grout line. Pretty big, a good place to grab everything. So, but what we do with this is we use a 1/16 inch grout line. Now, it gets a little wider on some on top, but it's all the same on the bottom. What happens is when they make a tile, the tile is actually heated up real high, and sometimes it shrinks more on the top than it does on the bottom. So that's why it may look a little bit wider than a normal 16th inch grout line, but on the bottom it's all still the same because that's the width of our little, as you can see right here, it's really thin, our actually clips. So the next thing we use to make sure it doesn't have as many highs and lows from tile to tile is we use what they call a wedge. Now that wedge, what it does is it makes it so when it dries, it cannot dry higher from tile to tile. And again, that makes all the difference in the world. Now here, we're gonna show you on this picture coming up right here, you're gonna see this picture. Now this picture is of a Turl. A Turl is one of my great installers. I love the work that he does. I have so many great installers. But anyway, you can see how many lash clips and wedges we use in this room. Pretty significant, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have this tile for a long period of time. You might as well have it done right the first time. As I always say, people love tile, but they hate grout. That's why I have really small grout lines, but also that's why we use the special grout that we use. It actually has a 25-year stain warranty on it because once your grout is stained, it looks bad. Your tile doesn't look as good. So with a 25-year stain warranty on it, it makes a considerable difference. Anyway, let's do a little bit of a demonstration. I have a couple things that I can go ahead and put our grout samples in. I have two different grout samples. They're both made by Mapei, and Mapei is a great company. I love it. They make really great stuff, but they make different grades of things. So one is we will look at, we're going to put this in a Coke halfway into it, and we're going to put the other one into the same thing. Oops, a little bit more than the halfway, I guess. But anyway, we're also going to go ahead and put in some wine. Things that you could spill on your house, both of the samples in there. And whoops, fell down in there. So anyway, what happens with this samples is, we'll just see really quickly, is they're more apt to absorb. Also, there's a lot of difference in the grout, in the ability to go ahead and not crack and not shrink and do all those other things too. So that's why we use this other grout. It's actually a pre-mixed grout. It's got the coloring in already, so I don't have to worry about it changing from dialot to dialot or from bag to bag, or even the amount of water I put in it, or where the water comes from, because that can make a difference in your grout coloring. It's nice to have more uniform grout coloring all throughout. So anyway, I just put these in here right now, and we're going to take a look at them, and then I'm going to show you the grout samples, what they look like before and up close, and also up close of what they look like afterwards. So here's the one grout sample, and here's the other grout sample. Both of these right here. I'm going to go ahead and dip them in water right now and just go ahead and kind of clean them off a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is, if you can look closely here, as close as you can, I'm going to just show you the grout samples. As you can see, this one's basically the same color as the other one, and which is kind of nice. And this one has actually gotten significantly darker because it absorbed not only the Coke but also the water in there. So it's pretty significant of what it looked like before to what it looks like right now. So let's take the other ones out of the wine. And again, it hasn't been in there all that long, but I want to show you, if you can look at this really closely. If you look at this really close, you can see where it was all the way in the wine. It almost absorbs like a sponge. So, but let's put this in here, and let's put the other one in here too, in the water, and kind of mix them around, kind of wipe it off like you would if you had a little bit of a sponge on there. So, as you can see again, Here's the original piece. That looks basically the same color. There's no color change there. Now let's look at the one that how it looked originally. Now there's a layer, there's almost a line there, as you can see. Obviously this one is significantly darker, and you can actually see the wine line on here. So pretty significant change, and this is the same company, but this one's made to be stain resistant. In fact, it has a 25-year stain warranty on it, and this one has a 0 stain warranty on it. Now, there's several companies out there that make grout that actually is stain resistant, but it has no warranty, so that means it can still stain. With this one right here with a 25-year warranty, you're covered for a long period of time. Shown here are the results of the test. On the left-hand side is Mapei Flex Color QC, which is the newest grout from Mapei. It's actually has a 25-year stain-resistant warranty that I talked about before. As you can see from the first spilled on grout chip to the last one, they're the same color. There's no change in them at all, which is very, very important. On the right-hand side, it's Mapei Caracolor S, which is a great grout, but with the new technologies, why not use a grout that doesn't stain? As you can see, the first one hasn't been spilled on yet. The second one actually has just Diet Coke and then water on it. The third one is actually got the wine on it, and you can see that level as well as just water on it, significantly changing from what it was originally. So this is where people get a little upset with their tile because they love tile but they hate grout. If you have grout that doesn't look good, you have a place where you spilled and other places you don't, it's not going to look new, it's going to look old, it's not going to look near as good. So that's why we use the Mapei Flex Color QC on 100% of our jobs. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it's been helpful to you. Don't forget, if you want to learn more about it, all you have to do is download the paper that I have below so you can print it out and learn how to do a proper installation. So whether you buy from me at Floors for Living or not, I want to make sure you're taken care of. I want to make sure you make the right decisions and get a beautiful floor for a long time. If you have any questions, you can contact our stores and we'll help you out. Or if you're an Angie's List member, you can certainly email me or call me because my phone number is listed there. And at the end of the day, remember, we're Floors for Living. We're the flooring experts, so you don't have to be. Thanks again.
Floors for Living, the flooring experts.